The start of day 4 of the 2024 US Open was a snooze fest. No, literally, I was asleep during some of the first matches because they were so mid. The seeds Sinner and Swiatek were dominating, and the seeds that did lose were not all that surprising. But then we got to the night session, and the tournament as we knew it was never the same. Hey, my name is Christian Bassnight, and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you have not yet already, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell to first join Christian's crew, and also so you're notified whenever I post more US Open updates throughout the tournament. And what some are calling the greatest upset of the decade, reigning Roland Garros and Wimbledon champion Carlos Alcaraz was eliminated in the US Open second round and in straight sets. 74th ranked Dutchman Botic van Zandschulp beat the third seed 6-1, 5-7, 6-4 in 2 hours and 20 minutes. Alcaraz did not look like himself at the start of this match. In fact, he hit 0 winners in the opening set, which was truly shocking. He just was kind of goofing off. It seemed like he just really wasn't as serious coming into this one. I honestly think McEnroe had a point in that he wasn't really expecting Botic to obviously win or challenge him as much as he did. Now, Carlitos did get his act together a little bit better in the second set, and he cleaned up, overall his play. He actually had more winners than unforced errors, I believe, in the second set, and he did well to recover from an early break deficit, and I thought that he would from then on steamroll in 4 sets. Van Zandschulp does not have a big serve. In fact, he did not hit his first ace of the entire tournament until about 2/3 into this match, but he did a great job of backing up his serve. He got a lot of help though from Alcaraz, being honest, because even the Carlitos, he's a typically strong returner, but in this match in particular, he missed a lot of returns, which costed him. It was a repeat pattern really throughout this match. You had Alcaraz with tiny openings and Botic's service games, and then once Botic came through all those tight service games, it gave him a lot of confidence, while Alcaraz was definitely shaken up from not being able to break the Dutchman's serve, and it quite literally took the win out of Carlitos' sails. The most clear example of this was in the third set when Alcaraz got broken for that first time in the third set to go down 3-2, and then he broke back immediately and consolidated with the love hold, and he started smiling, pointing to his ear, trying to get the crowd into it, and I thought that maybe it'd be another momentum shift and that Carlos would do something that he never done in his career before, which was come back from 2 sets to love down. He did push Botic to deuce in the following 4-3 game, but the Dutchman survived it, and really that was the last dagger in the chest of Carlitos, which was surprising. He lost his next service game, I believe, at 15, and then Botic held at love to finish the upset. I gotta give credit to Botic though, because he played absolutely out of his mind tonight, especially when saving some of those break and game points. It definitely, hurt Carlos whenever, he thought that he was able to make an inroads in the match, but Botic just did never let his foot off Carlos's neck. And that's something that's very uncharacteristic when you have these players who maybe be able to challenge like, a top 3 seed. Sometimes they let their foot off the gas and just totally fade away at the end, but Botic never allowed that to happen. Van Zandschulp simply played the perfect match tonight against Alcaraz. He did not give Carlos many freebies and unforced errors, and he still kept the ball relatively deep with good pace. And he's also, one thing too, Botic is an excellent mover out there on the court. He got so many balls back in play and forced Alcaraz into a lot of errors because he did not allow the Spaniard to hit through him, which definitely angered and frustrated Carlos even more. Botic's net skills too were unbelievable. He went up and took the net about 35 times, and he won 80% of points when doing so, which is a great feat, especially when you consider how great of a passer Carlos is. The serve was a big issue for Carlos too. Yes, I got to give credit to Botic for, getting a lot of returns back in play, but the Spaniard's serve was not potent at all, and he only won 60% of points behind the first serve compared to Botic's 78% success rate off his first serve. I knew that Botic could provide challenges for Alcaraz. I did not expect him to win this match, but I knew it would be close. He's a former top 25 player, and he made the quarterfinals here at the US Open back in 2021. However, many people overlooked him because he had not had a lot of good form this season, and he actually left the top 100 earlier in the year. There were rumblings that he was considering retiring at the end of this year as well. However, I knew he was back in form, especially when he dispatched of Denis Shapovalov in straight sets in round 1, and Shapo had been playing pretty solid this summer too. Big ups to Botic for this performance, as well as his nerve of just closing out this massive win. As I mentioned earlier, he finished Alcaraz off at love. This loss is definitely shocking for sure. It is the earliest slammed loss for Alcaraz since 2021, where he lost in the second rounds of both the Australian Open and Wimbledon Championships. People were saying that this might be amongst the biggest tennis upsets of all time. It definitely, once again, is a shock and a surprise for sure, but I don't think it's totally unbelievable, and I would not rank it amongst the greatest upsets of all time. I say this because, not to mention, Botic is, as I mentioned earlier, a great player. And then two, I just really did not expect Alcaraz to go deep in this tournament at all, because for one, he looked really out of sorts in Cincinnati, and I know a lot of people expected him to kind of pull it together for the Open, but that was a sign of things to come, that he was not 100% right, physically and mentally, to be honest. I still believe that Olympics loss to Djokovic in the finals was the most devastating loss of his career, and I feel like he really truly has not recovered from it. He really should not have played Cincinnati at all, especially with all the tennis that he has played this summer alone. He won Roland Garros, he won Wimbledon, he made it all the way to the final gold medal match at the Olympics. That's insane. And for him to still try to play a tournament in Cincinnati, that's unbelievable. I think that was a really, I hate to say it, but stupid decision on him and his team's part of trying to play that tournament. Not to mention, too, the change in surfaces from clay to grass to clay to hard court. That's eventually going to take its toll. I don't care if Carlos is the superhuman, as many people might think. He's his athletic specimen, but he's human at the end of the day. Carlos is supposed to play in the Laver Cup in a couple of weeks' time, but really he needs to take an extended break and not come back until the indoor swing, to be totally honest. That means skipping the Shanghai Rolex Masters and perhaps skipping a few of the smaller 500s like in Basel. And really, I wouldn't be too mad at him if he just took off and did not play the Paris Indoors Masters. We truly underestimate, how grueling it is on these players this year, especially with it being an Olympic year for one, and two, the changing in the surfaces. That's why this loss isn't a big deal for me, to be honest, because it's kind of unrealistic to expect Alcaraz to go deep here again with all the tennis that he has played. I don't think we should read too much into this loss for sure. Alcaraz, of course, he's only 21 years old, and he still had a banner year, winning 2 majors and taking home the silver medal at the Olympics, so really he has nothing to hang his head about here. Alcaraz's departure, of course, opens up plenty of opportunity now, especially in his little section. Jack Draper is the only seed remaining here, but he is a low seed at 25. I initially had Sebastian Korda winning this, of course upsetting Alcaraz in the 4th round, but he lost to Thomas Makac in straight sets. I could either see Botic, Jack, or Tomas come through, but I think I'm going to side with the lefty Draper to make his maiden major quarterfinal. The section below Alcaraz also has a lot of opportunity with the straight sets exit of Hubert Hurkacz to Jordan Thompson. That result wasn't entirely surprising, seeing as how the Pole was still struggling with his Wimbledon meniscus surgery. Alex de Minaur, meanwhile, is still going strong after playing his first singles event since his injury at SW19. On paper, he is the favorite to come through here, but I'm sticking with my pick of having Italian Matteo Arnaldi progress here, as he's looking great thus far, not dropping a set. Daniil Medvedev moved past Fabian Marozsan in straight sets, but he'll have a challenge next against 31st seed Flavio Cobolli, who's been incredible all summer, making the DC final and getting recent wins over Ben Shelton, Felix Auger-Aliassime, and Tommy Paul. Nuno Borges and Jakub Mensik face off up top in a battle of the unseeded young guns. Top-seeded Jannik Sinner, who only dropped 6 games to Alex Michelsen, will be the huge favorite to make the second week, taking on the unseeded Aussie Chris O'Connell next. However, the most impressive result to me today was Canadian qualifier Gabriel Diallo prevailing in the battle of the biracials versus Arthur Fils with a score of 7-5, 6-7, 6-4, 6-4 in 3 hours and 29 minutes. I know many casual tennis fans might not know of Diallo, especially before the US Open, but he has had a steady rise on the Pro Tour. Diallo, whose father is from Guinea and his mother is from Ukraine, did not make his pro debut until 2022, and he played college tennis at the University of Kentucky for his first 3 years. Diallo has been mainly grinding on the Challenger Tour since going pro, and it was his Chicago Challenger title run from July where he had his big coming of age moment. Diallo had to qualify for this US Open, and he's had to grind to even get this far, especially in the second round of qualies where he saved 2 match points. Diallo now plays 14th seed Tommy Paul, which quite frankly will be an uphill battle with all the tennis that he has played, especially too with his leg being strapped up. Regardless of what happens though, this tournament will be massive for Diallo's development. Ranked 143rd coming into the Open, he's now sitting at a live ranking of 103, so he will be bound to crack the top 100 very soon. On the women's side, the most anticipated match of the day was between Naomi Osaka and Karolina Muchova. Muchova took the match 6-3, 7-6, and her winning was not a surprise to me. In fact, I picked her to take this match. But I labeled this as a shocking loss for Naomi because of how she fumbled her opportunities to take a set or even win it all. Osaka started off the match actually better of the two, and she had an early break point at 2-1, and then she led 3-2 30 love on Muchova's serve, but Muchova served herself out of trouble and soon after hit her stride. Naomi could have done a better job of landing more of her serves in and making more returns, but Muchova applied a lot of pressure and she simply played amazing tennis to close out the opening set. Before I complain more about Osaka, I do have to give her 10s and give her credit for not letting Muchova run away with this match because she saved 3 break points in her first service game of the second set. This match could have definitely been more straightforward than it was, so giving a small kudos to you, Naomi. Still, throughout most of the second set, she struggled, Osaka did, to make inroads in the Muchova serve, but at 4-all, she got more returns in play and she outlasted the Czech in those baseline duels to finally break. I was not holding my breath though, because you know it's not a true break until you hold and consolidate your serve. However, when Osaka raced out to a 40-love lead with 3 set points in tow while serving out the set, I was already drafting my tweets and looking ahead to the decider. But then Naomi made some truly shocking mistakes. In addition to a double fault on one of her set points, Naomi made 5 unbelievable forehand mistakes to give Muchova a lifeline. I was truly shocked at all of these misses, especially on the break point, which Osaka ultimately handed Muchova the break back. She totally choked away that sitter forehand, and I still have no words. Karolina and Naomi each held one additional time after that to bring us to a deciding tiebreak of the second set, where Naomi yet again choked. She was in prime position to win the breaker, leading it 4-2, and then she double faulted at 4-2 and lost the next 4 points to go down 2 match points. Osaka, she saved her first match point, and then on the second one at 5-6, it was just truly the most shocking miss of all. I simply have no words for this. Simply no words. That miss right there just sums up why Naomi has struggled to have a standout result since this maternity comeback. Looking at the issues of the match for Naomi, first, Muchova was a much more efficient server than Osaka. Yes, Muchova served well, but it was Naomi's return that really did her in, and it's been a clear Achilles heel for her throughout this comeback, and it was an issue for her here. You know, it's just she's not getting enough returns back in play, and Muchova, once again, she served well, giving her credit, serving, I believe, 7 aces, but still she had no business acing Naomi as much as she did sometimes because Osaka's reaction time, she just was flat-footed and just was flat on her feet, just didn't know what to do. Now, there was a discussion going on X, formerly known as Twitter, about whether Osaka's game style is outdated. We all know that Naomi is a big ball striking player, and a lot of times it's balls to the wall, fire, pound, pound, pound. I do believe one-dimensional is a better way of describing Naomi's game. You know, I honestly am kind of tired of us running into the same old issues with Naomi and her kind of overplaying on balls and shots that she has no business overplaying on, and just not, being patient sometimes. And some of her errors and misses are truly erratic. A lot of times they aren't even anywhere near close to the lines or close to the court. I did not get my hopes up after she beat Elena Ostapenko in the opening round. Yes, it was a good win. It was her first top 10 win in over 4 years, but I know that Naomi, she does just fine against her fellow big hitters. But when it comes down to playing players who have a little bit more craft and who are consistent but yet still can finish off, relatively routine shots, that's when she has, big problems. We saw it at Wimbledon where she lost to Navarro, and then here at the U.S. Open, Muchova has a somewhat similar game to Navarro, and she beat her in straight sets. I think it's interesting, too, when I thought back to Naomi's two recent slam wins at the 2020 U.S. Open and at the 2021 Australian Open, how most of the opponents that she played there were big hitters. She didn't play many crafty players like a Muchova, like a Navarro. So I think that, now that there are more players who are introducing more, variety into their games, that's when she's kind of having a little bit more problems. So I think we could say, oh, it's a decline, but maybe if Naomi played like she did back then, now she might still be having these early losses. I don't know. I think there's a combination of that and also still trying to exercise some demons from the comeback. Today, simply though, the big thing was just the mental letdown. All those opportunities to win the second set gone, like that simply cannot happen. Going back to where she could improve, I think that Naomi needs to take notes from her sports marketing agency and evolve her game, incorporate more spins, have higher rally tolerance, and also come into the net more. But I'll save all that stuff for my highly anticipated Naomi Osaka deep dive video. She did play better this tournament. It might be her best tournament since the maternity comeback, but she really does not have much to show for it, losing in the second round. I also think we should give Naomi a little bit more time. Not everyone is a Serena Williams and can come back and make 2 slam finals months after giving birth to their child. It's different strokes for different folks, and Naomi clearly needs a bit more time. I think it's more time as well as different coaching. Serena was able to kind of adjust better because she had more of a complete game. It wasn't kind of self-imploding like Naomi often does in these losses. I think looking forward with Naomi, she needs to definitely try to grind it out in the Asian swing and the indoor swing, wherever else. And I hope that she does figure things out a little bit more about herself and how she plays then. The last time she played the Asian swing, she had success in 2019. So hopefully this would be good for her. I do want to see her seated for the Australian Open. I think that's where she can be a true slam contender. Now, silver lining of this whole thing, at least we got to see both her day and night US Open kits. So, that's a win in itself, to be honest. Now, focusing on the tournament now, Muchova now gets Anastasia Potapova, the Russian, and fifth-seeded Jasmine Paolini is into her maiden third round in Flushing after Karolina Muchova retired 2 points into their match due to an ankle tweak. The biggest loss rankings-wise on the women's side this tournament thus far was Elena Rybakina, but she did not even take the court. The fourth seed withdrew from her second round match against qualifier Jessica Ponchette. Rybakina made a statement through the WTA saying, "Unfortunately, I do have to withdraw from my match today due to injuries. I did not want to finish the last Grand Slam of the year this way, but I have to listen to my body, and I hope I can close out the remainder of the year strong. Thank you to all the fans who have and continue to support me, and I wish all the remaining players good luck." This whole Rybakina situation is weird. I'm sorry, I just have to be blunt, because this is the 7th time this season alone that Rybakina has either withdrawn or retired from a tournament. She could not defend her Indian Wells and Rome titles due to either illness or fatigue, and that's kind of understandable. I gave her a pass because she did well at the early part of the season, winning 2 500 titles at the time before those 2 tournaments. But after she made the Wimbledon semifinal, she pulled out of the Olympics due to bronchitis and only played 1 tournament between then and the Open, which was in Cincinnati, losing early in the first round to Leylah Fernandez. Now, what's causing me to read a little bit more into this withdrawal in particular is first the vagueness of it all. That statement, she said it was injuries that took her out of the tournament, but she didn't explain exactly what was wrong with her. Then, days before the US Open began, she split, Rybakina did, from her longtime coach Stefano Vukov, who she had been with for 5 years. I honestly didn't even expect Rybakina to play this tournament because we hadn't seen her practicing on site until the tournament was like a day or 2 from starting. She did win her first round match against Destiny Aieva in straight sets, and she looked okay. But, there has been speculation about the Vukov split and how that might have something to do with Rybakina's withdrawal. There is a tennis insider, wherever you want to call him, Craig Shapiro, who said that Vukov might be banned from the WTA in terms of coaching. So, I'm not going to read too much into that right now because we don't have the details, but that's something to keep an eye out on there. Bottom line, though, it is unfortunate that Rybakina isn't able to take the court because she is such a talented player, and this really could have been, she should have won a slam this year. I have to be honest. I think Wimbledon was a huge missed opportunity for her, but with all these missed withdrawn from tournaments and stuff like that, I was a fan of hers, but I had to kind of revoke my fan card because this is too much. I fear for the current Rybakina fans because y'all are God's strongest soldiers. It sucks too because Rybakina had a good draw here. Now there's a good opportunity for all these players in this section to make a 4th round, including former runner-up or two-time runner-up Karolina Wozniacki, who now plays Ponchette. Anna Kalinskaya was my initial pick before the tournament to come through here, and I'm going to stick with her, even though she does have an interesting third round coming up against Bia Haddad Maia. Jessica Pegula, a solid title contender, secured her 11th win in 12 matches after sitting off Sofia Kenin in straight sets. I thought this was an impressive win from Pegula. Kenin played very well in this match, but Pegula weathered the storm well and just was too solid in the end, and is definitely proving why many people believe that she can come through and maybe win her maiden slam title. The biggest threat here in this section will definitely be Princess Diana Schneider, who now gets Sara Irani, and Irani eliminated Caroline Dolehide, who took down Danielle Collins. I'm sorry, but that kind of pissed me off, because how are you going to send home Collins and lose to Irani Dolehide? Like, what the heck? Come on now. Anyways, and lastly, Iga Swiatek, she had a far easier time on court compared to her opening round, only dropping 1 game to Ina Shibahara. I expect her to be more tested, though, when she takes on 25th seed Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. Another Russian seed, Lyudmila Samsonova, survived a stern test from Marie Boskova, and she now gets 20-year-old American Ashlyn Kruger, who eliminated Mira Andreeva 6-1, 6-4. Kruger hadn't won a slam main draw match before this open, so it's been a dream tournament for her. And Mira, she did not play well at all in this match, but definitely full credit to Ashlyn for how she was able to have composure in the end and close out the biggest win of her career, to be honest. Looking ahead to the action on pack for day 5, all the Ash matches are bangers. Coco opens things up against Svitolina, followed by Big Ben versus Big Foe. Djokovic takes on Popyrin for the 3rd time in a slam third round this year, and then Sabalenka faces 29th seeded Russian Ekaterina Alexandrova. Then on Armstrong, Emma Navarro and Marta Kostyuk will be a good one for sure, and on Grandstand, Rublev and Lehechka look to bounce back after playing tough 5-setters the round prior. Giving my winners picks, I'll have Goff, Shelton, Popyrin. Yes, I know, that's insane. Y'all Djokovic fans, y'all go ahead and roast me for it. I don't care. Roast me. I know it's crazy to say this, but I believe Popyrin will win, Sabalenka will win, Navarro, and then Lehechka. That's all for this wacky day 4 of US Open, and let me know in the comments how y'all feel about the Alcaraz loss and its place amongst the greatest tennis upsets in history. Will Naomi be able to get it together in time for the 2025 Australian Open? And is Rybakina's injury withdrawal simply that, or is there something else going on beneath the surface? Make sure you all subscribe again and click the notification bell so you all are notified whenever I post my day 5 recap and breakdown. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support, and I'll see y'all next time here on Christian's Court.